Boa tarde a todos, espero que vocês estejam bem. Eu sou a Rosimara Barbosa Bispo, vice-coordenadora do Núcleo de Estudos Ganho Genético, e em nome do grupo já agradeço a todos vocês que nos acompanham aqui pelo YouTube. E para vocês que ainda não fizeram inscrição no nosso canal, façam a inscrição, ative o sininho para ficar por dentro de todas as nossas novidades. Gente, falando em novidade, eu não sei se vocês já viram no nosso Instagram, mas a gente está com um sorteio de mais um livro, o livro que foi anunciado a sua publicação no Congresso Brasileiro de Melhoramento de Plantas, Genética na Agropecuária, sexta edição, do professor Ramalho e colaboradores. Então, se você quer participar desse sorteio, vai lá no nosso Instagram, é só seguir todas as regras que você estará apto a participar do nosso sorteio. Bom, em relação à live de hoje, teremos 3 palestrantes, então as dúvidas e questionamento que vocês tiverem, pode ser enviados aqui no chat do YouTube, que ao final das apresentações, a gente passará as palestrantes. Gente, hoje é um dia muito especial, sabe por quê? Hoje a gente vai realizar o nosso último evento do ano de 2021, esse ano que foi de grande crescimento e aprendizado para o grupo. E eu já agradeço a todos vocês que nos acompanharam durante esse ano, nas nossas lives, no nosso congresso, no sorteio dos livros, nos nossos minicursos. Então, aqui eu deixo o nosso muito obrigado. E hoje, para fechar com chave de ouro, temos o webinar Mulheres e o seu espaço no setor privado. E para moderar essa live, eu tenho o prazer de convidar a professora e doutora Rosana Rodrigues. A doutora Rosana Rodrigues é engenheira agrônoma pela Universidade Federal Rural do Rio de Janeiro, mestra em fitotecnia e doutora em produção vegetal pela Universidade Estadual do Norte Fluminense Darcy Ribeiro. No período de 2003 e 2004, realizou seu pós-doutoramento em biologia molecular na University of Florida, participou da fundação da UENF, da qual atualmente é professora associada. É coordenadora de disciplina na graduação e na pós-graduação, estando vinculada ao programa de pós-graduação em Genética e Melhoramento de Plantas da UENF, credenciado pela CAPES nível 6. É vice-líder de grupo de pesquisa do CNPq na área de recursos genéticos vegetais. É cientista do nosso estado pela FAPERJ, é bolsista de produtividade nível 1B do CNPq. Atualmente, é vice-reitora da UENF e membro do Conselho Superior da FAPERJ. Atua principalmente nas áreas de melhoramento de plantas, recursos fitogenéticos para alimentação e agricultura, resistência de plantas a doenças e interação planta-patógeno. Professora, obrigada por ter aceitado o convite em moderar essa live de hoje. A palavra é sua.
Obrigada, Rosimara. Thank you, Rosimara. You forgot to tell the people that I am also your advisor. So, good afternoon to all who follow us on YouTube. I would like to thank the organizing committee for inviting me to moderate this chat today. I also want to congratulate the organizers for choosing this topic and already thank our speakers for accepting the invitation to share their experience with us. The role of women in the corporate world has always been surrounded by some difficulties, and I guess we can say we must recognize also some prejudice. How many times have we not heard comments about a woman's competence in command posts? The fact is that in recent times, women with all the merits have been occupying a space previously considered very masculine. Today, we will have the chance to listen to 3 women who have overcome barriers and are in positions in the private sector in the area of plant breeding. So, it is my great pleasure to invite our first speaker, Dr. Priscilla Rangel. She graduated in animal science, master in genetics and molecular biology, and Ph.D. in molecular and cell biology. From 2009 to 2010, she worked as an assistant researcher at Embrapa Arroz e Feijão, rice and beans, From 2010 to 2011, she was a visiting professor at the Universidade Federal de Goiás. From 2011 to 2015, she worked, as a plant breeder at Monsanto, Brazil. She also is a leader in the integration of trails for South America at Monsanto. She worked in breeding and development of corn lines at Bayer Crop Science, and she is currently a corn breeder for tropical climates and subtropical at Bayer Crop Science. Dr. Priscilla, you have 30 minutes for your presentation.
Okay. Hello. Thanks, Dr. Rosana. So again, it's a big pleasure to be here. Thank you, Dr. Rosana, for the introduction. Thank you for the organizing committee for the invitation to be here. So just to make it more comfortable, I would like this to feel like a conversation that we are having. So I'll be talking here. I don't have any slides, so don't be surprised. I don't have anything. But just for us to feel more comfortable, I'll explain a little bit more of what I do at Bayer in the moment, just to set the framework, because the theme of our conversation today is what's the space of women in the private sector, right? So I think that if I can help you understand, what is my role at Bayer, you'll understand when I tell you my story, what's the journey and what are the challenges and other things, right? So currently at Bayer, so I started my career in the private sector at Monsanto, but Monsanto was purchased by Bayer very recently, right? So we are now actually part of Bayer. So currently my job at the company is to lead. I have a team of scientists that work with me, breeders, and I lead them. And we are together. We are responsible for developing populations. Working, we develop the first breeding populations that will then go through all the process of breeding for tropical and subtropical regions of the globe. So we work for developing populations for Brazil, for Mexico, for Africa, and for Asia. So the reason why I'm telling you this is throughout my career at Monsanto and then Bayer, I have gone through, all the steps that are expected in a private company. So you start, as a scientist, as a breeder, if you're coming out of the university, coming out of your Ph.D. or your doctorate, you get this role where you're going to be a scientist, you're going to be a breeder, and then in private companies, you have the opportunity to develop your career and do other things and be in different areas and lead a team of people and expand your responsibilities. And all of those things are, very, it's inspiring, because you are working and you see that you have something that you can achieve, and it gets really, exciting, and you want to do this, and it's, it's wonderful as career opportunity. It's a wonderful place to be. However, it's very tough, right? So, and as I go, because my plan is to tell you a little bit of my story. So I hope that, looking at me as an example, in the end, that you feel inspired as well. And maybe we can all learn from my mistakes, and we can do things, better, and help build an environment that is more friendly to women, right? So when I was thinking about this presentation, the theme that I the title that I thought for this presentation was career evolution for women, women scientists in the private sector, and what's our role, each one of us that is hearing this live here, what's our role in building an environment that is truly inclusive to women, right? And the reason why I chose this is because I think what we're trying to do here today is to answer a question, right? And the question that we have is, what is the space of women in the private sector? And in my mind, the answer to this question should be very simple, right? It should be any space that any woman desire to be. And it should depend only on your wish to be here or there, to do this or that. But the reality is that things are not as simple as that, because there are things that happen in our environment, in our society, that really can have an impact on how women progress in their careers, in not only in the private sector, all right, anywhere really. So if you indulge me, I will tell you a little bit about my own story in the minutes that we have together. And again, hoping that you feel inspired, that you come up with many questions, and we have a very fun roundtable in the end. I have two other colleagues that are going to speak after me, and I'm sure that at the end of the talks of the three of us, you will have different perspectives on the same topic, and we're going to have a lot of fun in the end discussing, right? Growing up, so I'll go tell you about me a little bit, but again, just as an example, right? So growing up, my dad is actually a scientist himself. So he is a rice breeder with many years of experience. He works in the public sector. He works at Embrapa. So watching him growing up would always make my eyes, sparkle, because I really enjoyed looking at him do his job. It seemed so much fun. So he had, these problems to solve, and he used to talk about it at home, and he was, joining, conferences and speaking at those conferences, and thinking about how he would collect money for his next research project. And looking at that, I felt like it was, a very interesting place to be, and I always wanted to do that. And at home, my parents would always tell me, you go and you do your thing, you go and you study, you get your degrees. If that's what you want to do, you can do anything you want after that, right? So they always encouraged me to go after what I wanted. So I think those two things defined my decision in terms of which career I wanted to follow and what I wanted to do in terms of, my professional life. So never I thought that I couldn't get anything, like at home, that was not the message, right? So it shaped me in a way where, honestly, I got into my my master's, my PhD, and then when I joined Monsanto, when I joined the private sector, I'll be 100% honest with all of you. I never thought of I never thought that being a woman would be a problem, or it would limit me in any way. So I was, very courageous and brave. Okay, I'll do this. But then, things start, as life progresses, I started to feel that maybe there was something that could be better, right? So I, as I mentioned to you, I started my career as a breeder, and I was doing my thing, being a scientist. But then, as I started to progress, as I started to, when I occupied my first leadership role, that's when it started to hit me. I remember, because that's when I started to be in these meetings, like in the corporate universe, we have a lot of meetings, and many of those meetings are very important. You know, they're places where people sit down to make decisions and talk about, you know, serious things like, hey, we're going to do this with that purpose because it's going to become a product and it's very important. And it's going to be, I don't know, this very important hybrid that is going to be sold, I don't know where. So those type of decisions are made in these meetings where you find leaders from many areas sitting together and discussing and talking about particular topic. So when I first started to join those meetings, I started realizing, you know, that the number of women in those rooms was much, much lower than the number of men sitting there. There was more than one opportunity where I was sitting on one of those meetings and I would look around and there was just me and another woman sitting next to me. And then the rest was like 10 men discussing the topic. And as I started to be more involved with those, you know, in that universe, I started to notice that the lack of, you know, the lack of women in those discussion forums, they actually had some sort of impact, you know, because the way men approach problems are completely different from the way that women approach problems, right? So if the room is filled with men, then the way that the problem is going to be solved is more restricted, right? So we have less options. Because I remember sometimes feeling like my opinion was so different from the rest that maybe I was wrong. You know, I was like questioning myself. And then as I started to mature, that's the realization that I came to, is that you know, the mindset, the way that men think is really different from the way women think. And is one better than the other? No, not at all. What I'm trying to say is that, you know, having different points of view is very, very important, because you start to see problems on different perspectives, and it opens your mind, and you find solutions that are, you know, more interesting, more, I don't know, feasible. They make more sense. And as I started to realize those things, I started to get more involved with programs and initiatives that the company offers, you know, to empower women and increase the participation of women in all areas of the company, really. And, you know, just a small parenthesis. All big companies, and, you know, I am from Bayer. Esther, that you're going to listen to next, is also from Bayer. Magan, who's going to speak next, is from Corteva. And I am sure you're going to hear the same thing from the three of us. Private companies these days, they have very, very strong programs, internal programs that help, you know, women develop. And why do private companies do that? And those programs are very strong. They have very big influence, and they're very impactful within the environment of the company. And why do big companies do that? Is because they know there are studies from Harvard, you know, that state that having a more diverse environment is very good for business. We're very big on talking about women here, right? But all companies, and I know this for sure, they're very aware of how important it is to empower and help women progress, but not only women, you know, the LGBT community, the trans community. There's also a concern about race. So diversity is stated as being important to help companies grow because of what I just mentioned. You know, if you have people with different backgrounds that come from different a different perspective, they will put that perspective on the table when we're discussing about strategy, when we're thinking about problem solving, and when we're thinking about science, right? So my point is, when I started to see that, I was feeling kind of alone, in the meetings that I was being part of, I started to engage on those programs in the company, and that made me feel, first I learned so much, because when you start connecting with other women that are in similar positions as you are, you can exchange and you can talk about things like, this is difficult for me because, I don't know, I have kids at home and I cannot travel as much. So in the private sector, the amount of traveling that we do is quite reasonable. Normally, we're very global. We need to travel across the globe to other countries. And, I've heard colleagues of mine saying things like, oh, I cannot go to this trip because, I don't have anyone to take care of my child. So I'll be missing that opportunity. So it's really a missed opportunity, right? So that those little struggles, they can have an impact on women's careers, right? And things like, something very that we talk a lot, and it's very clear. There's even a name for that, the imposter syndrome. So we talk about that as well. So when we have the opportunity to apply to a position, right, to join a company or a position internally to get a promotion, for instance, there's a I don't know how many of you have ever looked at those job postings from private companies. There's always a description, right, of what's expected for the person that is going to be occupying that job. So the description normally has like a lot of things that are needed. I don't know, Ph.D, X number of years of experience, no programming, you need to know how to use R, you need to know coding, you need to know quantitative genetics, you need to know this and that. So there's a big list of things. And it's also, it has been stated, it's known that when women look at those job descriptions, they normally say, I don't think I'm prepared, it's too much. No, maybe, I need to study a little bit more, and then I'll apply to a role like this. Men are normally more confident, right? So they look at the job description. If they know for sure that they can do 2 of those 10 things that are listed there, they will go and apply. They will give it a try. So women normally don't try, they don't do it. So what those programs within companies do is to help women overcome those things, so the fear of applying to a job because we feel like we're not ready, and just giving it a try. And it makes such a big difference, right? So, the message that I wanted to give you here on this kind of first part of my talk is, it is challenging. Yes, it is. Are there things that, that kind of can prevent women from progressing? Yes, there are. But, I see, and that's very clear, that, companies are making such an important effort to help women. And one of the reasons why I'm so happy to be here is because I would like all of you, I know there's people watching this that are, at their PhDs and starting to think about, what am I going to do next? What are my options? I can tell you from my own experience that being in the private sector it has a lot of advantages, and you can be sure that you're going to be taken care of, you're going to have your opportunities, and that the companies are looking at what's at diversity and what's important for women, and really, really honestly helping women to grow. So to finish my talk, I would like to go back into our problem question here, which is, what's the real space of women in the private sector? And what I would like to tell you is, challenges, they're there for everyone. So as you progress in your career, being in the private sector or in the public sector, and I know, Professor Rosana, for instance, I know she knows the struggles as well on the public sector. There are struggles anywhere. I think that what's important is that we feel confident that we can overcome those struggles. We feel confident that we can rely on each other, rely on other women to talk about what's being difficult, what's not working, and we can be example to others. So one of the reasons why I'm so happy to be here is because it's been a wish of mine to talk to young scientists and let you all know that there are no limits if you are willing to go where you want to go, right? Be sure that you can do it. Don't second guess yourself, and believe that you can do it. So any of you, if you go into any private company and you see job postings and you see that list of 10 things that you should have, don't be afraid to go and apply. Do it, because I am sure you're going to be successful, right? So I have, Katiani, can you please put up the slide? I would like to leave here a slide with my contact. I'm on LinkedIn, so please go ahead and look for me. I'll be more than happy to, to chat, to exchange. We can talk, and I'm always available. So I think I'm almost on time, so I'll stop here, and I think we'll have our next speaker.
Thank you, Dr. Priscilla, for your brilliant intervention. We invite you to stay with us to be part of the round table at the end of the presentations. And our next speaker is Dr. Ester Buiate. She is an agronomist from the Universidade Federal de Uberlândia, with Master in Genetics and Plant Breeding at Universidade Federal de Lavras, and Ph.D. in Plant Pathology at University of Kentucky. She has been working at Bayer for almost 6 years and is now a breeder responsible for the integration of traits in soybean and corn for Brazil. Dr. Esther, thank you for accepting this invitation. You also have 30 minutes for your presentation.
Thank you so much, Dr. Rosana, and thank you for the Ganho Genético group for inviting me to be here. I guess a lot of the things that Priscilla said is a little bit what I'm going to talk about. So thank you, Priscilla, for setting up the stage so nicely. I think I will refer back, to what you've said. I'm going to share my screen with a little presentation just to keep me, I guess, on my, keep me on track here. So when I was thinking about this presentation like a month ago when I was invited, I kind of kept thinking about flexibility. And in the last week, when I was really putting things together, I wanted to add communication into my talk as well, because I think a lot of, what we do, what I do at least in the company has, is connected to good communication and communication overall. So I decided to, be flexible and change my title and I'm calling it The Power of Flexibility and Communication. Some insights into women in science in the industry. And starting with my professional trajectory, since I was a kid, I've always wanted to be a scientist. I didn't know really what a scientist was, but I think I thought it was fascinating. I always thought you had to be, a medical doctor. So I thought maybe I need to do medicine for me to be a scientist. But as I grew up, I found out that, almost every profession, you can be a scientist. And I decided to go to agronomy. So, as Dr. Rosana said, I did agronomy in 2006 at the Universidade Federal de Goiás, here where I live now. And, when you start a career, I guess everyone mostly is on doing their PhD now, but when you start a career, you have some dreams, right? I wanted to be a scientist, but I didn't really know on what kind of crops I would be working, what kind of area I would go. Would I work with soil science? It's such a big field, such a wide field that you can choose different areas. And so you've planned some steps, right? I planned to go to the university, I made it, but then a lot of this stuff that happens are by chance. And the reason why I added communication, I think that more than the institutions you go to or the positions you have, the people that you find along the way and that you can connect with and learn from, they are the most important thing along the way. So some of the things that have happened, like back when I graduated, when I was doing my course, that are related to the connection and communication with those people, is what led me to the rest of the steps that I'm showing here. So if you think about all the internships I've done at Embrapa, Syngenta, and Monsanto, it all started because of this first step of mine. So I met a researcher from Embrapa at a meeting, and I got to do 2 or 3 years of internship there on vacation time when I was on vacations because of this meeting. And then he knew someone at Monsanto, and then I got to do my work for my undergrad project at Monsanto because, this guy knew this person here. And then another professor at the university had worked at Syngenta and had a research project that was in connection with them, and that's how I got to do an internship there. So besides, of course, being fortunate enough that Uberlândia has a lot of companies around, the communication, I think, really set the stage of how the other things started. And, it's also important, I think, to be flexible to accept any changes that might happen. And here, when I'm talking about flexibility, I think this internship at University of Kentucky that I did in between when I finished the university and before I started my master's is one of those things. It's also about communication because the same researcher from Embrapa knew the researcher from the University of Kentucky, and my professor, Dr. Lisa Valencourt, there gave me the opportunity to stay for a month at the University of Kentucky. So that was something that was off course, and I was like, yeah, sure, let's go. Of course, that's a big dream to go to another country, to study in another university, and it's important for us to accept those changes. And the other change that I wanted to mention is during my master's, I started with one project, and midway, things didn't arrive, the antibiotics didn't come to Brazil, and I just couldn't do the research that was planned in the beginning. And this is where, me and my advisor had to be flexible enough for us to change midway, and in the end, I defended something else. But it's important sometimes to not dwell a lot on our failures and find right solutions and adapt ourselves. Well, then because of the internship, I ended up doing my PhD at University of Kentucky in plant pathology. I did my master's in genetics and plant breeding. And then in 2016, I'm sorry, I made a mistake there. It's 2016, I started at Monsanto and now Bayer. So, that's my professional trajectory so far. And when we talk about flexibility, we have some core values in the company, and one of them is flexibility. And it might seem that it's something like that we need to, do anything or work too much, but it doesn't have anything to do with that. For us in the company, flexibility has a lot to do with innovation. So, we are in a world that is constantly changing. And we now have so many different things than we had even when I started working 5 years ago. Things are so different already. And we have done so much in the company to bring innovation. So being flexible, it's not just, about doing everything, but sharing new ideas, thinking about new things to try to deliver the best solutions, and also learn with failures. And I think that's a big thing for women. We sometimes are, we don't have the courage to do that. And we need to be comfortable, I think, with thinking that a new idea might not be the best one. It might not work out. But we need to, be bold enough, I guess, to try to go for it and, innovate. And if it doesn't work, the good thing, I guess, at least as far as I have seen here in the industry, is that we do have, a space for failure to happen, for us to, learn with it and change it, and then maybe even bring even more innovation with that. I have to say I have some resistance to that kind of thing. I'm always a little bit attached, I guess, to what we call plant breeding as an art. I think if you're all plant breeders, we always say, oh, plant breeding is an art. And now we are switching a little bit from that and talking a lot more about data and about new things. And I kind of, my heart has still the art part, but it's important for us to learn to innovate and bring new solutions that we need. Adaptability is also something that is in our flexibility. And I just wanted to bring a story here that I think it has a lot to do with what Priscilla said, the imposter syndrome. I did another talk at the University of Sinop, and right after the talk, one of the students there contacted me on LinkedIn, and she shared with me her story, and she said she was a postdoc, and she didn't know what to do. There was no positions open for academia, and she was just kind of waiting and hanging in there. And I said, why don't you apply for a position in the industry? And her answer was, I do not fit the job description. She was working, now I don't recall, but she was working, on something that she said it didn't fit any of the job descriptions that were open. And I said, sometimes we are not looking exactly for that. I mean, it's impossible for a company to find exactly what we're looking for. I worked with one disease in one crop, and specifically one protein for that. And, a company is not looking for that. So how would they hire me if I don't have the skills? When you read the job descriptions, there's so many things. And that's one of the things that Priscilla said about the imposter syndrome. We as women, we tend to say, I cannot go and do that. I don't have the qualification. And so I incentivized her and I told her, go for it, try it out. And she, sent me a message on LinkedIn, like, I think 6 months ago. And she said she got a position at GDM. And she was, thank you for the push and for helping me to, see that I do not need to fill all the job description requirements. And, being able to adapt yourself is what is important, I think. When I started, again, I said I worked with one disease, one crop. And when I started, my new leader told me, oh, you're going to work with all the crops, all the diseases in corn. And in my head, I was like, how am I going to do that? That's impossible. I can do one, maybe two, but how can I do all of them? And, it's different. It's a different emphasis. It's a different perspective. And then 1 year later, it was like, okay, so you're going to add another crop. You're going to add soybean on it. And again, I had the same feeling like, oh, that cannot, that's not going to work. And, it did. And now when I look back at it 5 years later, I'm like, maybe I can now try a new crop. It kind of, you keep on learning and you keep on seeing different things. And it gets really exciting in the end. And it's, you just have to adapt yourself. I think we all, doing a PhD and a master's, and going to grad school overall gives you all the tools that you need to excel later at a company. So that was one of the things that I wanted to point out on flexibility. And I guess the other thing I brought here post-pandemic, because I think for the last year and a half, or even more than that now, but we all had to be very flexible, right? We had to find new ways to connect. We had to find new ways to communicate. We had to find new ways to keep work going on. And being remote, or even, a sort of a hybrid work model, so maybe a few days in the office, maybe a few days at home, I think it was really good for women in general, because, sometimes you might have kids. I just had a baby, and he's 3 months old, so I am on my maternity leave. But I'm looking forward when I go back to be, maybe a few days at home where I can see him and, help and see him grow. So I think the post-pandemic work might bring us women a lot of flexibility and a lot of good opportunities. You might not need to be in the same city anymore. You might not need to be even in the same country anymore. So going back to the job description, if you see a job description that is even for the US, apply for it. You don't know. Maybe it's going to be a fully remote work and you can just do it from your house. So, I think that's what I wanted to touch base on the flexibility. But as I was thinking about what to talk here, I thought that communication in the end is so important to what we do as women in industry. So as I explained in the beginning, my networking was really what led me to where I am today, right? A lot of years ago when I was in college. But all of that started a chain of events between my professors and between some mentors and some advisors and some professionals in the companies I've done internships at. That kind of, in the end, most probably is why I am here today talking to you guys. So networking is really important. And not just that, to make your career path, but also inside the company. Me and Priscilla, we are in the same team in the company at Bayer. We are in plant breeding, but we often have meetings with people from other areas of the company, the more commercial areas, sometimes the biotechnology areas. And that always help us to, get a different perspective, a different view, diversity as well. It's always important to have people that either have a different background from you, or that are from a different culture than you are, and so you can add up to what you're thinking and your ideas. And it goes back to the innovation that I mentioned. The more diversity we have in a team, different things can come up and more innovation you're going to get. So networking, communication, all of those connections that we make are really important. And I think as grad students, your professors, I guess, are the source one of communication. Your colleagues. I've had the lucky chance of seeing some of my colleagues sometimes in the company, either working the company or some of them in academia and coming to connect with us, with other professionals as well. I've had my advisor come, once my master's advisor come once here in the company for an event. I've seen classmates that work for governmental areas and that have also been here in the company for other purposes. So it's always nice, networking is always super important. Either your professors or your colleagues, you will meet them all in the future, and they might be a great source, of friendship, but also of connection and networking for future paths that you might have. And the second point I wanted to bring here is a term that we use a lot, I guess, in the company, which is sorority, but it can be also like sisterhood or, women helping women. Maybe when I was younger, a teenager, we had this, women don't help women, and maybe we had, struggles between girls. But at least ever since I started in the company, and even in my graduate school, I've never seen that happen. And especially in the company when you might think, people are trying to compete. I've never seen that happen either between men and women or women and women. So just wanted to focus, I guess, on the sorority relationships because it has helped me a lot throughout those last 5 to 6 years. Priscilla is a leader in the company, and I often had one-on-ones with her. And she incentivized me to take new roles. And the role I am currently at, I just applied after I talked to her. So, that kind of thing, that incentive, that help, that if you're not prepared, do this or do that and try to look for this, try to do this course, or just the help and the connection and the friendship that we make with people in the company, and especially with women, has been of great, I guess, help, and has been a very positive impact on my career overall. So don't see this as a we don't want to connect with men. That's not what I mean. But just take out that thinking that women are not friends with women. No, be supportive and helpful to all your friends there. And then I guess the inspiration would be the last thing. Priscilla mentioned that we have a lot of programs in the company that kind of help us moving forward in different ways. And one of them that I wanted to talk is a program that we have that's called Women in Science, and it helps us in different ways. For example, it helps us making meetings for us to connect and talk about a specific thing. Maternity, for example, could be one, or how to become a leader. And it also helps us by connecting us with leadership. This year, I had the opportunity to talk with like the third most important person in crop science because of the WISE group. So it kind of, help us, put our faces out there, learning new things, connect with different people, and it's a great inspiration as well. We have a lot of women in leadership that come talk to us. Priscilla, one of them. We just have our new Bayer crop science president is a woman. So, she's invited sometimes to talk to us. So it really opens the door to inspire us and to show us that, there is a path, it's possible. It is out there and it exists. So, and, it's just a way of saying don't give up and prove your worth and conquer your space. I have a very similar view as Priscilla had, that I never thought I couldn't do something. But it was always amazing to me that other people, thought that, oh, you're a woman, you cannot do this. And I was like, why not? I completely never agreed with that. And, I never gave up on something that I wanted. So, do not lose, this desire, and keep on going and be inspired by other women. And I just wanted to end saying, the world needs science, as we have seen, I guess, a lot in the last year or so. And also science needs women. And we are here and we have our own space, either in academia, either in industry. We have a lot of opportunities for women out there. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Esther. This was really an inspiring lecture, and we invite you to stay with us to be part of the roundtable at the end of the presentations. And now it's my pleasure to invite our next speaker, Dr. Magan Lewis. She holds a Ph.D. in plant breeding and genetics from North Dakota State University, and master's and bachelor degrees from the University of Minnesota. She serves as the Corteva Global Technology Adoption Lead for the Crop Protection Discovery and Development Group. In her role, she oversees the development, implementation, and compliance of new technology across the globe to enhance product development and agriculture research. Magan is an active member of the Food Security Global Steering Team, recently co-founded STEM, an acronym for Science, Technology, Engineer, and Mathematics camp, with her husband. She is also a STEM education outreach fanatic, ID&E advocate, and activity participant in nonprofit boards. Welcome, Dr. Lewis.
Wow, that was an amazing introduction. Thank you. Thank you. I'm excited to be here. So thank you for the invitation. And thank you for giving me the opportunity to grow with all of you today. I am following two amazing women scientists that really hit on some key objectives and some similar themes that I will be showcasing today. I will share my screen because, like the last presenter, I want to make sure I stay on time and that we have value. So 1 second. Okay. Can you see my screen? Awesome. I will get started. I will assume that you can see my screen. Well, thanks for having me here today. Today, I'm going to take a different spin and really talk about how do we ignite your spark. And with that, I think it's important. I'm going to kick off with the introduction of who I am. I would really like to hear from others on the chat. I'm a very interactive presenter. I love building together, collaborating, and helping you become the best version of yourself. So a little bit about me that was covered in the introduction is, yes, I love science. I've always loved science. I grew up in my dad's science lab at age 4. And I remember completing my first science experiment by taking a Q-tip swab and swabbing the handle of a water fountain and then growing it on a petri dish and counting the colonies of bacteria. I've always had a passion to also feed the growing population. I started agriculture research at age 11. And my dad was a science teacher and community outreach trailblazer, where I just really loved science, competing at regional and state and international competitions. And I kept that passion alive all the way through schooling. What most don't realize and know that, yes, I'm a scientist, but I'm a mom, I'm a sister, I'm a wife, I'm an aunt, I'm a musician. You can be so many different things. So if you get anything out of today's presentation, is I'm going to tell you to be you and the best version of you. I triple majored in my undergrad in opera performance. I'm a classically trained opera singer since age 13. And then I also did piano, composition, performance, percussion, drumming, and then plant science. I decided to keep plant science as my focus. It's always been my passion, and music as a hobby. I was lucky to travel through the university system to get master's and Ph.D. in plant breeding and genetics. But a fun fact is I thought for sure I would be a professor. My last year of my PhD, I decided to teach 4 courses, forage production, crop and weed science. I just had a passion for inspiring the future generation. So I went on to get my graduate certificate in college education. Well, life took me a different route, and this is the fun part about life. It's an adventure, it's a journey, and it's even more exciting when you step outside your comfort zone and you say yes to one opportunity that you thought that you would never say yes to. And you're going to see that I have a lot of yes on those opportunities coming up, but it has transformed and made my journey fun, dynamic, and memorable. So I met Dow Agrisciences at the time in 2011 in San Antonio, Texas. And at this time, I thought for sure, I'm going to be a professor. Well, I met them and I learned that in industry, I could not only be on the cutting edge of research as a scientist, but I could lead individuals and people, future scientists, and I could be an adjunct professor. That right there, I was excited for this. I'm an extrovert, meaning I love social and people. I move fast, and industry just fit my personality and my style at the time. So I joined industry in 2012. I'm coming up on 10 years at Corteva in March. So really grateful for my journey, as you can see. And Corteva, if you're not familiar, was the merger between Dow and Pioneer. So you might have DuPont, Pioneer, Dow Chemical. And I started in the heritage Dow Agrisciences side. I kicked off my career as a pure scientist, as a soybean breeder in North Dakota. I then relocated the family to Minnesota and was a corn breeder. This was the point in my career where my patents and my hybrids were really developed and refined, and journeys are fun. About a year and a half into this position, I was reached out and visited by the vice president of research of the company at the time. And I was a corn breeder. And they said, hey, Megan, can you drive me through the sunflower field? Well, I love sunflower fields. So I said, yes, okay, let's do it. But I was nervous. I said, why is the VP of research having me drive through sunflower and not my test plots? I wanted to show germplasm, check out the new inbred lineup, check out this hybrid creation. And I was nervous because I thought, oh, the Megan sparkle was too strong. And actually, it turned out to be a great conversation. At the time, the individual and the leader told me, Megan, you're different than most breeders. Then I started to sweat again. I said, oh no, what is this going to mean? And it actually was positive. They said that I was empathetic, and they felt I was a natural born leader. And so in 2013, this is where I morphed my role from straight scientist into people leader. And it's something that I absolutely love. It energizes me. I get excited to grow individuals' careers, scientists' careers, breeders' careers, engineers' careers. And it's just been such a fun journey. So we relocated to South Dakota. I was able to stay scientist, so I still was a corn breeder. I built a research facility from the ground up, and that was intense and one of the most difficult parts of my career, but exciting and the most memorable. I also developed the testing footprint across the state of South Dakota, driving around, handing out hats and drinking a cup of coffee with farmers to really figure out what were the issues and the problems that they were seeing. I then led a team at the station, and I picked up global leadership in 2013 as well for Chile, Puerto Rico, Hawaii, and Mexico for winter nursery production. You know, I loved this position. This is the longest position. We've had a lot of relocations, but we were in South Dakota for about 4 years. The same individual that, contacted me in that one row came out again. And I said, okay, where is my next step on the journey? And I was selected for what they call the CEO program. So individuals that have a passion for leadership, understand science, research development, the business, the return on investment piece, they put you into a situation and see how you handle yourself as a leader, as a person, as a mom. It was super fun. They sent my family and I near Budapest, Hungary. So we relocated to Europe in Szeged, Hungary. And I led all research and commercial for sunflower and corn, and a station with over 15 different languages present. And so I made a commitment to learn Hungarian. If you don't know Hungarian, it is a very difficult language, but it's a beautiful language. But it's really difficult to learn. And so my last meeting, I made a commitment to the team to lead it in Hungarian. And it was just a really fun, great experience. Amazing scientists, amazing leaders that are transforming the world today. We got back stateside and they announced the merger of Corteva. And this is where we relocated again to northern Iowa. And then for about a year and a half, and then they relocated our family again one last time where I am today in Des Moines, Iowa. And this is a global business center for Corteva. And as you can see, the last two positions, I moved from plant breeding, this might be a question, to crop protection. But why? I have this need to be green and growing, continuously learning, and I need to be thriving. I always tell my family I can't be on the vine and dying. I need to be energized and excited to go get it. So I learned a different platform. In 2019, I moved from plant breeding, which I've been in for so long, and I moved over to crop protection to meet new individuals, marketing, our formulations team, dive into the legal team, regulatory team, and just really start enhancing a different section of my mindset and a different section of the company, because I feel every interaction is important and to make every interaction count. You know, my current role, what I currently do today is I'm global tech adoption lead, but the other two amazing female scientists on the call today, they may relate. Our positions and titles, especially at Corteva, it changes quite a bit. So I tend not to make business cards anymore, just because it is a dynamic space, especially in technology. But one thing is I get to use my plant breeding background as a foundation. All the knowledge that I gained as developing new hybrids and also just the academic breeding perspective, that's the foundation of what I'm going to use today. Today, I get to use and find technology that can enable and help our breeders be better breeders and ultimately help our customers find out what's going on in their fields and at what level. And so today I lead technology from drone application, product application, to drone imaging, to robotics, to sensors, to different software programs. I never thought if you would have asked me 5 or even, let's say, 3 years ago that, Megan, you're going to be leading a team of engineers, data engineers, software engineers, I would have said, that's funny. But I am today, and it's so fun. They teach me, basic code, basic code, but they teach me a lot about myself and my leadership style as well. And so I'm really grateful that my current role, I get to intersect not only crop protection, but on the digital side, the digital company, the regulatory, the legal, the safety, and the global component of it too. And from a global perspective, I get to work from scientists with, from China and New Zealand to Japan and Brazil and Argentina and Italy and Germany and France and Africa and Switzerland and even across North America. And so the point is, I love who I work with. And another point, if you get anything out of today's presentation, is really make every interaction count and meet new people. And how do you get the most out of every interaction and networking experience? And how do you grow together? So instead of just saying hi, let's say that hi and get a cup of coffee and start growing together and helping each other, supporting each other, and advocating for each other. So that's a little bit about what I do at Corteva today. I'm also a STEM outreach fanatic. Yes, that is correct. I have a passion for inspiring the future generation of scientists and leaders. I'm a strong woman and youth advocate as well. My husband and I co-founded a science, technology, engineering, and math camp that we say it's open ages 5 to 99. And we're working on a virtual camp as I speak today. I'm a AAAS, that's the American Association of Science If-Then Ambassador, and that's where we have life-size statues. 120 women were selected around the world as outreach science trailblazers, and it was a huge honor. My statue was next to somebody that is a National Geographic explorer or the doctor for the women's U.S. soccer team. And so just really amazing women doing amazing things. And our mission is, if they can see it, they can be it. And so that program has opened up the doors way more than I could say on the outreach perspective. I'm big on nonprofit boards. One near and dear to my heart is the Science Center of Iowa board membership, but also food security, Women's Inclusion Network. I joined recently some different programs to help enhance agriculture awareness in the communities. And then I always visit schools, etc. My list is long. The point is, I challenge you to always think about community as you go through your career, as you go through your PhD or undergrad, graduate journey. Always think about community. What can you do to make the place where you live a better place? So just a little bit about me. I can make these slides available if you want to learn more just about my background, why I joined Corteva, why I joined the space I am, and why I love science. I included some links for some recent podcasts that we had, and then also just from some award just write-ups. They asked some fun questions so you can get to know me a little bit on the personal level. And then a picture of this fun orange statue, which my kids and we did go to Texas this year. We visited the Dr. Megan statue. And, most moms would be like, yeah, I want to tell you the amazing experience. My kids were scared of it. They looked at my statue and they were poking at it. And they said, Mom, this is a little weird. But they said it was pretty cool to see all the orange statues. So I will make this available to the presenters today if you would like to have access to additional information. I also was recently featured on national television. This is with the CBS Mission Unstoppable. So actress Miranda Cosgrove from the iCarly series, or I don't know any other series right now, but she's an awesome advocate and supporter for science, technology, and even agriculture. And so we did a segment on robotics and drones and how we apply them into our current agriculture setting to help feed the growing population. So I can share that YouTube link if interested. and want to dive in with some of the technology that we're utilizing today at Corteva. But today, what I thought would be important is because I thought, and they did an amazing job, the women before me speaking today, they talked about communication, they talked about flexibility, they talked about how important it is to be your best self, the most genuine, authentic, real version of who you are. And so today, this is a different type of twist from the other two presenters to shake it up a bit, if it's my personality, is you don't have to share, only if you feel bold enough. But really, I want you to do this exercise along with me, whether it's in your head or you write down on a piece of paper. I want us to grow together of what does it mean when I say big rocks? So as a women scientist, as a woman global leader, something that it took me the longest time to realize, and this is one of my learn from Dr. Megan's mistakes and failures, because this is how we can become better and we leverage each other's experiences and exposure. And one thing I can say is when I finished my PhD, I'm going to tell a personal story. I finished my PhD. I was super excited. I started with Dow Agrisciences, and 5 days after my very first day at my new job, just 5 days after, we found out that we were expecting our first child. I was thrilled. I was excited. But part of me was nervous because my very first plant breeder meeting, I was one of 2 women out of a room of 150 individuals. And I felt the need that I had to act like everybody else, be like everybody else, fit in. And it took me a little bit longer. Fast forward my career, because it's not that way today. But this is why I'm telling you this lesson early on, is that you need to be the most genuine, authentic version of yourself always. Because when you activate the best version of yourself, others will activate their best versions. And then the team just clicks. You have success, you have impact, and you have deliverable outcomes. And so first and foremost, right away, when I thought that I had to act and be like everybody, we were walking through a cornfield. And if you ever walk through a cornfield, you can close your eyes and envision this. It was an irrigated cornfield. So they have these irrigation ditch tracks. And my foot got stuck in one of those tracks. And I ended up falling at 8 months pregnant. And I landed right on my stomach. And I was rushed to the emergency room. And we had to make sure that the baby was okay and that I was okay and everything was good. And I sat in this room, recognizing life is short, and also recognizing that I need to be myself, because it also impacts my health, my safety, and also I have other people to look after too. And at that moment in time, just that one quick fall, everything was fine. We had a healthy, beautiful baby girl who is thriving today, and she's growing up way too fast. But that time is just, it made you pause, and it made me think of how we need to always be ourselves and always do what's best for us. And so there's been times where, yes, you get imposter syndrome and you change who you are to fit in, or you feel that you're not good enough or you don't meet the mark. I'm telling you, you are. I saw in the questions in the comments quick, do you have any advice of how to go and really just tackle imposter syndrome? One thing that works for me, and I'll get back on focus, is I do the power pose. I literally, in a mirror, I will stand there and I do the Megan power pose, and I'll do that, and I give myself a pep talk. And when I say pep talk, I tell myself, you got this, go get it, be kind, be yourself, be you. And it just helps before any presentation or any interaction or any day that we tackle. So big rocks are important. And I could tell you how I live my big rocks. If you ask me today what my big rocks are, I would say family. I aim to always be a visible pillar. I'm really passionate about agriculture, innovation, global connectivity, outreach, community involvement, but family's number one. Here's a couple of areas that I do to really activate this big rock. I sit down with my team and I look at my calendar on Friday for the next week, and we look at it and I see if there's any meetings that I can eliminate or not attend if it does not relate or correlate to one of my big rocks. And I started doing that to get to also enhance energy boosters, but also to be mindful of why am I here? Why am I doing what I do? And everything I do is for my family and for community. And so this just really helps me focus in. Another fun thing that I started doing, so even others on the call today, the other amazing women, I would say, is that I have 2 cell phones. I have a personal and a work cell phone. And at the end of the workday, I will take my work cell phone and I will lock it into a plastic tote in my garage. And so I put it into a tote, I shut the lid, and that phone is in that lid until I need it again. I normally have meetings at night because I work a lot with China colleagues. So I will have to pick it up later. But when that phone is in that tote, that means I have quality family time. And that is where my focus is. And that is where my focus will stay until I have to activate the work Megan again. And so just something to think about. There's ways to really, family's important to you, health, wellness, well-being. Just really think about ways that you are living your big rocks. And so I think photos tell a great story. Your assignment as I tell photos are, what are your big rocks? Tell me your top 3 big rocks in the comments, or even just think about them and just have them in your head. And then are you living those, big rocks? I don't want polishing or always rebuilding, but are you living and actively making decisions based on those big rocks? And so these are just some fun photos of my team across the globe. I don't know if you see my cursor, but this individual is from Brazil. So Gabriel's awesome. He always holds drones for me and we take fun photos. And also we took a photo with the Brazil and Argentina team when we're out in the field, and they said, let's take a photo with the drone. So we have fun, but really making every interaction count is something that's really near and dear to my heart. And then also outreach, giving back to generations to come. How do we enrich the lives of those who produce and those who consume? And that pictures just help paint that story. So big rocks are number 1. I want you to think about it. I want you to write down your big rocks. And yes, I know I give assignments. I'm probably not going to be invited back because of all the assignments I give. But I think it's important that you focus on you and you build the best version of you. So building brand, I love this quote. Your brand is what other people say about you when you're not in the room. And it is so true. And this is an exercise that I find really valuable, especially as women in science and especially as women aspiring for higher senior leadership level roles. And I have high aspirations, and I hope that I inspire others just to go get it and follow their dreams. And so this is what I call the Megan's Invest in Yourself exercise. How many CTO, CEO, or head of R&D positions exist in a company? 1. In a qualified candidate pool, how do you stand out? And are you standing out for the right reasons? This is something where I pause. I mentor 82 individuals around the world. 40 are at Corteva. The others are outside and external to Corteva. And I mentor because are individuals standing out for the right reasons? What can I do to help activate their career roadmaps? What can I do to help not just be a cheerleader, but be a supporter and an advocate to bring them in the science and agriculture and technology space? What are your top strengths? And then are you able to share them in 30 seconds? So as you reflect about this over the weekend as well, think about your big rocks. What are those core big rocks for your life? And then think about what are my top strengths? And can I give Dr. Megan an elevator pitch that tells my core strengths and my values of who I am in just 30 seconds? It's a really fun exercise. I've always enjoyed it, and it's helped me out tremendously. The next step is I want you to think about your strength finder, and I'll give you my example at the end, so don't worry. But when you think about strengths, not just saying, hey, I'm organized, or, I'm detail oriented, or I really like science, or I'm a chemistry lab bench pro, I want you to really, before you start writing down all these fancy and glamorous words on LinkedIn, is think about what project was the most successful in your journey. And it could be a community project, it could be a science project, it could be a family or personal project, but just think about a project and imagine, why was that project successful? What role on that team excited you most when you completed that project? And then how did you navigate challenges? And did you activate any new skill sets that you didn't even know you had? And then the most important one is 360 feedback, is what would your team say about your contributions on that project? So fill out your big rocks, fill out the other questions, and then fill out your very most successful project and some of those core things to think about. because now you're going to start building what are your strengths. And I gave some words as an example. Are you strong at delegation, conflict resolution, agility, empathy, communication? The reason why I walk through, and I think it's really important to highlight this segment and activity during today's discussion, is because as women, I feel that we have to stand out and we need to stand together. And when we stand together, really make our profiles, our brand really stand out. And how can we help others and support and advocate them to stand out? So as you wrap up your graduate career or undergraduate career or whatever your path is taking you, always build your brand. Focus on your big rocks and tell me, and I'm excited to hear, what are your top strengths? And then incorporate those strengths in your LinkedIn and into your 30-second elevator pitch. It's going to help you come off as ready to go, ready to tackle it, and as a strong technology and science female. The final thing for the strength analysis is energy boosters and drainers. We all have them. I'm sure the other two speakers have them as well. A drainer for Dr. Magan is if we have a 6-hour Zoom meeting with 0 bio breaks. That is a complete drainer. So I always try to balance out my calendar with boosters and drainers. You're going to have drainers, but make sure that you balance it with the boosters so that you can stay even keel and well balanced. Energy boosters, interacting with new individuals, mentoring individuals like you today, growing together, new technology, and then also I love learning new cultures and just meeting new people. So to wrap up this exercise, just really quick, I gave you a ton to think about and a ton to work on, I know, but it's really important that now is the time. We have come a long ways for women in science and women leadership roles in companies. But in my honest opinion, I think that we could do better. And I think that we need to do better. And that's where I'm excited for the future for all of you is, how are you going to change the world, and what can we do today to help you activate the best version of yourself just to go get it? So my overall thoughts are to be bold. I always tell all of my mentees and who I am is that you are in the driver's seat of your career. You need to build your brand, but not just build it. I actually go through and refine and revise my brand every 2 months to make sure that I'm being recognized and also people know my brand for the right reasons and the right characteristics. Embrace mentorship. I started mentorship at age 7, and today I still have core mentors. I mentor 80 individuals, 80. I know that's a lot. 2022, I do have to cut that down just a little bit. But also I have 5 core mentors. My philosophy on mentors, and this might help you today, is I have a community mentor, so a CEO at a financial institution that keeps me grounded to focus on my number one big rock, which is my family. I have a community nonprofit mentor because I always look at the best ways to give back and how I can enhance my portfolio in that perspective. I have 2 internal Corteva mentors, either really strong leaders or, we call them laureate or fellows or advanced scientists. And I also select scientists that think differently than me. And I think that's really key because it shows you areas of I need to work on, where are some areas of improvement that I have, but it also helps me activate some of my skill sets that I didn't know I had. And then my last mentor is always a fun one. I pick an individual that volunteers with me in a lot of different areas just to get perspective and grounding of who I am. So a neighbor in the community or a colleague or university colleague. This year, I've been fortunate and grateful to really have a mentor from a vice president of a research institution and university where we're able to mentor each other. And it's just been so fun reading leadership books and also challenging each other to keep us fresh on both the public and the private sector. And so I know I said no more homework assignments, but now you have all of the solutions. So what I want you to do today is to take your big rocks, take your strength finders, and take all that information, your top 5 strengths, and update your LinkedIn profile. I know this may seem simple, but I don't know about Bayer, but I know at Corteva, we really look at LinkedIn profiling and also just the word search. Do you have words that are going to pop and make you stand out from the rest of the candidates? And this is where you can start practicing your power of storytelling. I won't ask for volunteers today, but just think about it. The words underneath your name are so big. Do they tell who you are today? Are you an influencer? Are you an advocate? Are you an ambassador? Do you like tech? Are you a plant breeder? Are you a chemist, a biochemist? Make sure that your expertise is highlighted in those words right underneath your picture. And then take it a step further. And then this is where, tell the story of who you are and why you're passionate about agriculture, why you're passionate about plant breeding, why you're passionate about changing the world and feeding the growing population. It is such an exciting time. And I'm excited because every event that I get to speak at like this, I know that I'm talking to my future boss someday. So that might be you. So I want to say congratulations, but also best of luck if you have me as an employee. No, I'm looking forward to it. You're going to change the world, and it's exciting. So make sure that you really tell that story in the light of what got you excited about agriculture. Did you grow up on a generational farm? Do you have ties to science and technology? If you caught the very first speaker, she told you about her passion of watching her dad as a scientist. That is powerful. Those are the stories that are going to help build credibility, but also build the empathy, the different diversity of thought, the way of thinking, and getting more seats at the table. So I'm excited. If you want me to check out your LinkedIn profile, just send me a message and friend request, and I would be happy to help you on the journey of amplifying your LinkedIn profile. And with that, I just want to say, as we're all scientists or leaders in this space, yes, it's important to ask questions and find answers. But one thing that I've been really, and I know the last speaker did a phenomenal job at mentioning this as well. But as a scientist, I feel obligated to communicate with the world what we are learning. And this is an area that we are diving into, not even at Corteva, but even externally as well, is how do we bring the community with us on this journey? And that could be the journey, in my case, of drone technology or robotics. It could be the journey of, new food or better ways or different solutions, regenerative farming, whatever the topic is. How do we start bringing the community with us? And how do we start building together in a greater level? I also just want to provide my email, my LinkedIn, my Instagram, if you're interested. Instagram is pretty fun. That's where I mentor and engage a lot of 12 to 18-year-old girls that are just excited to explore STEM and engineering and just to go get it. And, my final food for thought, because I think I gave all of you enough assignments to last a very, very long time, is I want you to focus on you. I want you to take these assignments to heart. And I'm going to share a couple of, last minute roundup here, but I want you to activate the best version of you. So really take time, find your big rocks, find your strengths, and then find a mentor. Go find a mentor, somebody that you can bounce ideas off of, somebody that will challenge you, somebody that will push you the extra mile, and somebody that will just sit back and enjoy to be on the journey with you as you become successful in this space today. So yes, I'm grateful. I'm excited. I had a diverse career. I started in plant breeding. Today I'm in crop protection. I don't even know what January is going to bring. Hint, hint. We'll see. But it's been a fun journey because I've always came with the mentality of communication, make every interaction count, but also building together, networking. How do you work together as a team? Are you independent or do you really thrive in a team-centric environment? And then also I'm going to challenge you with one thing. I think it's important is that a job description has very specific bullet points. And I always tell my mentees, even if you don't have all the specific bullet points that it lists, go for it. And so that's your permission to go for it and go get it. And I'm excited for the panel discussion and for all the questions that are going to come in today, because one topic that's really important is that Corteva has amazing programs for, recruiting employees. We have a Delta program, diversity program to bring in aspiring new females, other cultures and genders just to come in and transform the world in agriculture. But my question today, and maybe this might be a good panel discussion leeway, is what are we doing to retain talented women? So I've seen a ton, and I've served on many United States Women in Science panels about, the amazing things that we're doing for recruiting women scientists. But my question today is, what are we doing to retain female scientists, and what role do we have in it, and what role do you have in it? And I think it's really exciting. And I'm just going to pause and say thank you again. It was truly an honor to be here with all of you today. And I'm even more honored and excited to team up with my colleagues on the call today to answer any questions and inspire you to go get it and be you. Thank you.
Wow. Thank you, Dr. Lewis, for this inspiring lecture. We have a lot of questions, comments, and it was a privilege to listen this extraordinary women today. Thank you so much, all of you. I think we have some key words at this moment. Be confident, be flexible, don't give up, sorority, trust in other women, step outside your comfort zone, think about your community, and always be yourself. If we can put this together, I believe the key words, it will be like this. So let's go for the questions. We have one here from Rosimeire Barbosa. Congratulations, Dr. Priscilla. Entering the private sector was always in your plans, or it was an opportunity that came along the way?
Mm-hmm. Okay, good question, Mary. So I actually, so when I was working on my master's and my doctorate, I was developing my research at Embrapa. So my dream was to work there. So I wanted to go through this, through the process and get a job at Embrapa. But as life progressed, I didn't have the opportunity to get in one of those selection process to get in there. I started my teaching job at the university, and my mind started to open up because really I never had the intention to join the private sector, to be honest, before finishing my PhD. But then my mind started to open up, and then I said, you know what, I'm going to give it a try. I'll send my CV. And it worked really well. It was a very, how can I say, engaging selection process. I felt valued, and I felt that I would have, many interesting opportunities to grow and develop. So I'm glad that I opened myself to do that. But I'll be honest to tell you that it was not my intention, before. But yeah.
Thank you. We have another one now from Rosimara Barbosa. We have twins, right? So congratulations, Dr. Esther, for the beautiful presentation. Do you believe that in the post-pandemic scenario, hybrid work will be a reality? And what are the advantages and the disadvantages?
Yeah, I think we will move from some positions for the hybrid work. Of course, we do have some jobs that you cannot do hybrid work. Like sometimes you have to go to the field, so you won't be able to do that. But for some of us, it will be a reality. And the advantages is a little bit what I mentioned. You can stay home, you can work from a different city, you can have more opportunities. We can hire people that maybe wouldn't be able to be here. But then we also have a disadvantage that I have felt a lot during this year and a half working from home is I really miss seeing my colleagues. I mean, sometimes, all I could think of when I was working in the office is like, oh, I wish I could work at home today. But right now I'm like, oh, I really wish I could go to work and I could see people, and it just is hard. And also that, not just, seeing colleagues, but it brings some challenges with communication. I think you have to be way more, I don't know if it just, we lose more time with being outside of the work. Sometimes I would meet Priscilla in the hallway and I'll be like, oh, this project, we've done this. And she'd be like, oh, sure, let's do this now. Now we have to schedule a meeting, and then we put 2 more people. And then, so you kind of lose a little bit of time. So that for me is the biggest disadvantage, but it brings other good things too.
Okay. Thank you, Dr. Esther. We have another question now for Dr. Magan. Your strategy for reconciling family and work is wonderful. Does it always work? Have you ever broken the rules?
That's a great question. I think from my presentation, you all probably picked up I'm definitely a rule breaker. Unfortunately, it's just in my nature. But no, that's a good question. It actually surprisingly has worked awesome. And I was struggling with this about 2 years ago where I was the mom. I was there, but here's my phone. It's like, hey, wait, I'm on email 352. Just wait. Yep. Oh, I just got a text. And I mean, it's just constant. Work is always going to be there. And I needed something that worked for me. It may not work for everybody. I have to be honest. The first day that I did it, I had my work phone and I had my personal phone. My work phone I put into the plastic tote, and I felt, when I was pregnant, I stopped drinking caffeine. I love coffee. Coffee is my jam. And I got the shakes when I stopped coffee. The same thing happened with this exercise. When I put the phone in the tote and I couldn't touch it, I was shaking. And then I knew, okay, so I'm addicted to work. I need to pause. And it has helped. The first week, yes, I broke the rules, but I can proudly say a year into this exercise, I have not broken the rules in 352 days. So it helps, and it's able to, I'm a better mom. I'm a visible pillar. I'm not just there physically, I'm there mentally. And for my kids, my daughters even said, Mom, thank you, because we know you're here, the full self of you, and it worked. And so, yes, it works for me. Won't work for everybody, but it just helped me come that division, because I work 100% remote now. I went from living in airports, hotel rooms, and traveling in cornfields. And in May of this year, 2021, they said, hey, Megan, you are good. You could be 100% remote. Megan, extrovert, loves people, 100% remote in her basement. So I find creative ways to still connect with customers and scientists and colleagues, but I'm 100% remote. So now my exercise is even just as more critical, because I am now available 24/7 in the work world, because I have an entire room that's always plugged in, and I work with a team around the world. So when I'm sleeping, they're working still, and emails come in. And I just say that I'm happy I started this exercise a year ago, and that I'm still using it no matter the temptation today. So try it out and let me know.
Very good, Megan. Another one. Congratulations, Dr. Priscilla. Your words were wonderful. As you mentioned it in the presentation, we sometimes have the imposter syndrome. What are your advices to overcome this?
Mm-hmm. Right. So the three of us mentioned the imposter syndrome, right? Because it is real. It does happen to all women. It happens to ourselves, to women that we talk to. So I think the first thing to overcome this is to know that it's a real thing, So if you go and you look again on the example of the job posting, if you look at the job posting at any company and you question yourself, that's a sign of imposter syndrome. So, my advice is mainly for those who are not within the private company universe yet. Remember this, remember what the three of us just told you today, and be true to yourself. So I'm going to steal some of Megan's talk. And I think that what Megan means is know who you are, because you have been, a young scientist, doing your studies 24/7. And it's so painful. It's so difficult to go through a master's, through a PhD. You know this, right, Dr. Rosanna? It's a lot of work, a lot of dedication. It's like 4, I don't know, up to 7 years in your life where you're just preparing yourself to do something, to get into, to a job. So how come you're not prepared, right? So just think about all the things that you can learn, because there are things that that you're working on, on a daily basis on your master's or PhD. But there are the other things that you can learn because you can do this, right? So if there's like 2 or 3 skills that you still don't have, don't worry, you're going to be able to learn it as you need it. So just keep this in mind and go for it. Just apply for the jobs and see how it goes. Go through the interview processes. It's all going to be fine.
Perfect. Right. Let's go to the next question. Dr. Esther, what was your biggest challenge within the private sector? Do you have any advice?
I was thinking, like, what was the biggest challenge? And I think, unfortunately, I don't have anything exciting to say, but what Priscilla just said. I think this lack of trust sometimes that I had in myself. I started as a research assistant or associate in a team, and then there was this opportunity to move to become a breeder in the role that I am now in the trait integration team. And I remember the last day to apply, I called Priscilla and I was like, I cannot apply for this role. I do not have all the things that I need to. And, I just cannot. It's going to be a waste of time. And, why am I going to do this? So I think that's the biggest challenge. For me, I still have this, I don't think I'm ready for this, or I shouldn't do this. And even when people say, yes, you are, or let's move to this position and let's try this, course for you to learn a different thing. In my heart, I still feel like, oh my gosh, people are so wrong. I don't know what I'm doing. And are they sure I should do this? So I think it's myself. There has not been anything else that I can think of as a bigger challenge than my own self.
Thank you, Dr. Esther. We have a lot of comments, of course, in the chat. People are really excited about the lectures. Paola Bianchi is saying, thank you for your lectures, the 3 of you. It was such a pleasure to hear strong women encouraging us to go ahead and do not give up. It was very inspiring. Nice, Paola. Thank you. Dr. Magan, your lecture is very inspiring. I love it. You make everything seem so easy and fascinating. Rosemary Barbosa is saying that. Jean Torres, excellent presentation. What is your advice for students that want to start their career in the private sector as a breeder? You were 3 amazing. Dr. Magan, Esther, and Priscilla, you are amazing. I'm so glad. Jean Torres is saying that. So, what your advice for students that want to start their career in the private sector?
Who wants to go first? So let's go in order, right? The 3 of us can say something, right? So I think advice. So being open to learn. So I'm gonna, take my last talk and I'll pull from there. So just be able to learn, because it's science, right? And we're always innovating and thinking about new ways of doing things, and things change so much. So just be open to learn new things, because whatever you're doing today is going to be outdated very soon. So what you're doing today is just building a very strong foundation. You have all the bases, all the foundation to learn new things. So be open to that. If you come to an interview process and you show the people in your interview panel that you were excited about learning, about innovating, about doing things differently, you have your job, guarantee.
And I think I talked a lot about that you need to innovate, you need to do new things, what Priscilla said. And we have a phrase that we use, I guess, in private sector, which is soft skills. So, and sometimes I felt like during my whole academic career, we never talked about soft skills. That was never mentioned. We, of course, had to present, right? And then practice a little bit of conversation and how to show your data and this and that. But there wasn't a lot of conversation about what we talk in the companies of soft skills. So, you know, what Priscilla said, be prepared to learn, because most probably you're not going to know anymore, because things evolve so fast. But, you know, communication, collaboration, resilience, those kind of things, you know, of course, if you finish a PhD, most probably you are resilient, because it is hard. But, you know, those things, you know, remember that sometimes we're just looking for the soft skills plus this, you know, base, as Priscilla said, of knowledge that you have, but we focus more on the soft skills. We focus more on knowing that you want to learn instead of what you actually know.
Awesome insight. Oh, what I would tell breeders of today. So Corteva might be different, but the breeder role is transforming greatly. And we just went through a recent reorganization that is just a signal to what breeder roles will look like in the next 5 years, 10 years, 20 years. And so what I could tell, the best advice I would give, in my opinion, is very similar, like be green and growing, and not to be focused on a single crop and not to be focused on a single curriculum. What I'm trying to say is you need to come in with more of a broader knowledge set than maybe I had 10 years ago. And that is, you don't have to know everything about coding, artificial intelligence, or technology or engineering, but you should know surface level. Like, how does it connect? How do things integrate? How do you integrate your knowledge into the current breeding system or into the current food agriculture technology system? And so I'm not saying go get another degree, go to 8 years engineering, because I'm not an engineer. I was told recently I'm an honorary engineer, so I was all proud because my best friend is an amazing engineer that had to do 4 years of calculus, and that was not for me. That's why I'm a plant scientist. But what I'm trying to say is that go find and stay up on journal articles and reading books and just keep that growth mindset activated. So you don't have to know everything about, hey, I use drones in breeding, you know, but you should know, why do we use drones in breeding, you know, for imaging, or, you know, seed spray, or, you know, the recent technology. You should know just a little bit about everything to be dangerous, right? But no, you should come in with a mindset that you're willing to learn, you're willing to grow together, and that you come in with more of a broader opportunity mindset. Because if you come in with a siloed mindset of, I just want to be a corn breeder and focused on corn, and there are some opportunities, but in Corteva, those are getting smaller and smaller. So I would say diversity of crops, diversity of curriculum, and just think outside the box. An activity that I do with some of my mentees, actually in Brazil, so it's exciting. But what I do is I have them develop a career roadmap. So they're breeders, PhD breeders, finishing up. Write on a sheet of paper, tell me what you want to do in 2 years, 5 years, 10 years, because that's going to give you your answer of what you need for a position. And keep in mind too, when you join private industry, your PhD gets you through the door, but it's not what gets you promoted or keeps you thriving in your current position. It gets you through the door. I mean, I have a PhD in plant breeding and genetics. It got me in the door as a scientist. And today my career, as you can see, 7 relocations, dynamic, to take over in a completely different space. Crop protection and formulations. I did none of that in graduate school, I could tell you, but I'm learning from our molecular biologists and engineers. So always be open to learning and always fine tune and continually improve yourself. But most importantly, it goes back to my number one advice: know yourself, know what you want to do. Know your goals, know your vision. They can change. Mine changes every day. I'm still deciding what Dr. Megan wants to be when I grow up, because I don't know. It just could be vacation break coming up. I just want to do amazing things and start amazing areas. So we'll see. Ask me what I'm doing in January. But I just say always know yourself, but also know your limits, because you have to keep it fun. You have to have that passion, and you have to have the drive. As soon as it's not fun, you're not going to have the heart to do it. And this is a very important job to do because you're helping feed the growing population with whatever tools and mindset and knowledge. So always be you and be green and growing.
Thank you all. Another question for all three. What were the significant changes in dealing with work after children? New skills and difficulties. Rafaela Duarte is asking.
Okay. So yeah, let's go in order again. So I am no example, right, for that, because what I did, and I wish no women has to do what I did. So I decided to not have kids for a long time because I was afraid it was going to hurt my career. How was I going to do things? So it's not a good example. My wish is that all young scientists, around the globe, that they can decide to have kids when they want to have kids, and they can, match that with their career growth. So I had kids very late, very recently, actually. So I waited for a long time, and I have a baby at home. She's 18 months now. So the reality is when a baby comes, things change, because before, as a person on my own, I could work at whatever time I wanted until midnight, weekends, Saturdays, Sundays. Now I need to stop at 5 and go feed her and give her, a shower and put her into bed. I'm here now, but I need to have someone there, taking care of her. So it does change things. However, so there's the impact in the beginning. Because you move from being this person that is very independent and can work at your own hours and do whatever you want, from this, from that to a person that has to take care of a baby that demands a lot, and and at all ages, I think they do demand, right? So what I'm learning, and I think that it's a learning process. It's different for each person. What I'm learning is, what can I do with the time that I have to work? So what do I do from 8 to 5? Because that's my work time. So I need to be focused and very smart on managing my time, because I know that at 5 I need to leave. So what maternity has given to me is the ability to better manage my time. I don't need to work until midnight. I don't need to work Saturdays and Sundays. And I just learned to be smarter about my time. Is it easy? No, it's not. It's difficult, but it's doable, because many women scientists are doing it. So why couldn't I, right?
Thank you, Priscilla.
Well, I think I'll be able to answer this question in 3 months. As I said, I'm still on my maternity leave. I just had a baby in September. It's my first. I've also, like Priscilla, I kind of postponed it a little bit more than I think I should have. And when I see, we have some examples, right, Priscilla, of women in the company that had kids when they were very young. And now they're already entering college and they're basically our age, and I'm like, wow, it really didn't damage anything on their career. So I also had that thought, maybe I cannot do that. And right now I have a husband that is gonna take care of the baby when I come back. So I have a different situation. With someone that has been willing to, support me and just say, okay, you do your thing and I'll take care of our family. But I really like what Magan said. I've always, I'm just what Priscilla mentioned. I could work until midnight, weekends, it doesn't matter. But I really like Magan's tip. I think I'm going to follow it, because it's very easy to get consumed. And, I just love what I do. I enjoy it a lot. I think about it most of the time. It's kind of fun, so why stop it? But I have other priorities now, so I'm definitely going to use your tip and Priscilla's tip. It's the end of the day will be at 5. I'll put my phone somewhere else, and enjoy my family too. It's a big part of our lives as well, right? So I will find out in 3 months.
Thank you, Esther. Now it's up to you, Magan.
I know, and my oldest is almost 10, so it's fun. I would say I've learned a lot, and another technique. I always have tips and techniques because I love sharing and leveraging and pivoting that maybe help somebody. They can help me. I started on my calendar about 4 years ago as I noticed my kids were growing and I needed to be done by a certain time of day to drive to swim practice or music or whatever. I'm driving everywhere now. But what I needed to do is when I had to be done, but I knew I had my core big rocks to accomplish for the day, I started scheduling what I call focus time. So it's called Megan's Focus Time and my team, and they all know what it is and they know not to touch it. So I may just carve out 45 minutes a day and just say Megan's Focus Time so that I get, for sure the big rocks done. There's always going to be email, with 200 plus a day. It's like, yes, I will continue. I'm burying myself as I go through it, but I do focus time on my calendar. Another thing that I found interesting that we're navigating now is that we relocated 7 times as a family. And relocation with a baby, I don't want to say it was easy because it was not easy. I remember I was pulling my hair out, but it was easier than it is as they get older. And that's one thing where my family really appreciates having roots growing down of where we're going to be because they have friends. They find friends in school, community, they find activities and people they like. And so one challenge that we're navigating now is that we started growing roots in Iowa. And with R&D going through reorganizations and shuffling, it just really limits what that could be. And so that's a challenge that I'm actually overcoming today is what is in the past, I said relocation, 100%. Yeah, send me back to Switzerland, take me to Europe. I love traveling. It's my husband knows this too. My family, we're wanderlust. We love to travel. And now it's just making me pause to say, what is my relocation percentage? Is it 50%? Is it 100%? What location? And so as the kiddos get older, that's a challenge that we're navigating as a family today is what does that relocation look like? But otherwise, it was a fun journey. Everybody goes, oh, Megan, you should have more kids. I have 2 daughters. I love having 2 daughters. It's fun. It's great. And my neighbor just had recently, both neighbors had babies. And so that's my baby time where I get to hold their babies and be like, awesome, you can go back to your mom and dad, and I get to share that with them. But have fun. The biggest advice I could say on the call today is that it goes fast. I feel that I blinked and now I have a 10-year-old. I don't know how it's possible because I was sucked into industry, I won't tell you how many hours per week, 70, 80, in the field, just living, breathing work. And I probably missed out on milestones, but I wouldn't be able to do what I did without my husband. So key message of this answer I'm going to summarize is your support network is key. Whoever that is, you need to find your support network and lean on them. My husband, after I finished my Ph.D., he has a master's in business and operation logistics, HR. I probably got that right. So he led all of HR for UPS, the Brown Delivery Company, packaging company for the state of North Dakota. After my PhD, he left his 50-hour-a-week job, cold turkey, to be a stay-at-home dad. Because he said, it is so rare to see female scientists in agriculture and female leaders in agriculture. We need to launch your career. So my husband made a sacrifice and commitment to our family to be a stay-at-home dad right away. And so I wouldn't have been able to do 7 relocations overseas, back stateside, if I didn't have him as my core rock and my pillar and as just my stable pillar of the family. And so I'm really grateful for everything that he's done. And now with the pandemic, he became a stay-at-home school teacher 2 years ago. And so our girls are homeschooled. And I couldn't do what he does. I have patience. I do STEM activities all the time. I lead STEM camps. I do all that stuff. But my husband goes, well, Megan, they leave after 2 or 3 hours. I was like, oh, he's like, I'm with the girls 8+ hours a day teaching. And so I have an utmost respect for my husband, but find a support network and lean on them. It's okay. You don't have to do it all. I'm stubborn. I always felt that I had to do it all. Like I had to do all the cooking and cleaning, and I had to do all the work. And I delegated that out too, just like I delegate out at work. And together we make a strong team. So find your support network and lean hard on your support network.
Okay, thank you. Jean Torres is asking about what do you like to do in your free times? In your free time.
Okay.
Sorry.
So I'll say that with a little baby, I don't have much of free time right now. In the future, I'm hoping I will, Megan. But you know, whenever I have some time, I try to read something. You know, just to keep my mind out of, you know, constant work and baby. So I try to read a book that's related to, not related to work, not related to babies. And I actually, you know, I like to cook or bake. You know, that process of preparing food is good for me. Yeah.
Yeah, I guess, you know, usually reading books, and I like to do cross stitch, which is a very old thing to do, but I enjoy doing it. It's a meditation, I guess, process for me. So I try to do that as much as I can, which is not that much. But on a day-to-day basis, that's what I do.
That's awesome. My husband told me I need to have more hobbies. So my 2022 goal is to find more hobbies of what I like to do. But I love music, so I play piano. I sing at local churches, etc. I really dive into STEM and community outreach as my outlet. That's my night job, because my day job is at Corteva, and so I do a lot of that on the side. I love photography, and my family and we love traveling. And so we love traveling overseas. You know, just exploring new countries and cultures. You could about imagine me in a country where I don't speak the language, but I make friends. I make lots of friends. It's really fun, and they accept me in with my broken, you know, speaking and everything. So it's really awesome. But we love that, and then water parks. I love water slides, swimming pools, everything like that. So we have some fun on the side too. But it's really anything with the family. That's what we do.
Thank you. I think we have to finish. Unfortunately, we have to finish this event today. We are broadcasting almost for 2 hours now, and I would like to ask you if you need a final words for people who are listening to us, please.
Just thank you so much for the invitation. What a pleasure. What an opportunity, you know, to talk to young scientists. Just go and do it. You know, we're all successful in our own ways. So don't think of success and, you know, working here, working there. Don't think of that as a stereotype. You are the owners of your careers, of what you're going to be doing. So just, again, believe in yourself and go do it. It's going to be wonderful.
Yeah, be excited for the future. You know, sometimes it's hard to see the path. As I showed, we don't really know, you know, even though you kind of try to plan a career and you say, oh, maybe I want to do this, I want to do that. I didn't think I would be exactly here. And here I am, and I'm loving it. So just be excited about the future. Things will get in place.
Yeah, and I would just say thank you for this opportunity. These are true energy boosters. I really enjoyed today teaming up with these amazing female scientists on the call today. My biggest advice is to be you, your most genuine, authentic, quirky, fun, different, unique self. Because when you activate your best version, others will activate their best versions. And I did see the dolphin comment. So to wrap it up, I will do my dolphin sound really quick, Professor, if that's okay, because I did get LinkedIn messages about that as well. Thank you.
Thank you. It was a really great opportunity to have you all here. It was an amazing time, and hopefully we can do it again anytime soon. Okay? Thank you so much. Thank you, Ganho Genético, for this opportunity.
Thank you.
Obrigada, professora Rosana, por ter aceitado o convite. Agradeço a todos que ficaram até o final e nos acompanharam. E desejo a todos um Feliz Natal e um Feliz Ano Novo. E ano que vem voltaremos com as nossas atividades. Fique por dentro dos nossos próximos eventos, acompanhando as nossas redes sociais, o Instagram, o Facebook e também o LinkedIn. Tchau, tchau e até a próxima.